Alright, good evening everybody. In today's video again we're going to be looking at quadratic equation. And what is a quadratic equation? From my findings I see that the word quadratic came from Latin from quadratus, and quadratus is a past tense of quadre, meaning to make a square. And then when I saw this from my researches, I said a square has 4 sides. If a square has 4 sides, a quadratic equation shouldn't have the power raised to power 2, it should have the power 4. And I asked myself, what is the perimeter of a square? I say it says 4L. What about the area, L square? So when I look at these two things, I now concluded on my own that this is the one actually they used. I never went further again, so this is what I can tell you about quadratic equation. A quadratic equation is actually an equation that has the highest power to be 2. So for example, now we have x squared plus 3x plus 4 is equal to 0. So this is an example of what a quadratic equation. So without wasting much of our time, let's go into the main thing. A quadratic equation is an equation that looks like this: ax raised to the power 2 plus bx plus c. It can also be px raised to the power 2 plus qx plus c equal to 0. This one now is with respect to x. This also is with respect to x. If we have xa squared plus ya plus z equal to 0, this is with respect to a. So it is not a must that it is going to be with respect to x, or it can be with respect to anything. And this a, b, c, p, q, c, x, y, z, all of them are dummy. They are numbers. They are what? Numbers. So quadratic equation looks exactly like this. Now I want to ask one question: is it a must that this side must be 0? It is a question. Don't expect me to answer it. So you can drop the answers in the comment box below. I might not even know the answer, so please answer it and keep it in the comment box below for me. Thank you. So this is an example of what a quadratic equation. And what do I expect you to know in quadratic equation? I expect you to know that one, quadratic equation has different method of what? Solving problems. Method number 1 is the one we know, factorization method. The next one is completing the square method. Now the third one is the formula method, and the last one I know is the graphical. If there is any other one you know apart from these 4, please you can just drop them in the comment box. So now, factorization, completing the square method, formula method, and graphical method, they are the 4 formulas I know that you can use to solve any some of the quadratic equations. So we take this one. In this video we're talking about factorization method. So factorization method. To factor out something, to factorize means to factor out something. And remember the definitions of a factor. A factor of a number, let's say a factor of a number p is another number q that can divide p with remainder equal to what? 0. meaning P over Q is equal to what? Let me say S remainder 0. So meaning that what? Q is actually a factor of what? P, right? Yes, because Q can multiply S to give you what? P with no remainder. So now, having understood what a factor is, we can now go over to what? Factorization. So if we have, for example, we have 26 here, we have 30 here, we have 48 here, we have 52, we have 54 here. Now we want to factor out something. Here we see that 2 can divide. If we bring out 2 go into here, we have what? 13, we have what? 15, we have 24, what do we have here? 27. And there is no other number that can divide all of them without what? Remainder. So we have factored out 2 from these numbers. Do you understand? We have factored out 2 from these numbers. So that is what factorization method is. So for example, now we are given, since we are talking about algebra and it collaborates the use of letters and numbers together. For example, we use 2a plus 2a squared plus 4a plus 16. Let us factor out something. We'll factor out what? 2, because 2 can go through all of them. We'll factor out 2. Here we have what? A squared plus, here we have what? We have 2a plus, here we have what? 8. There is nothing again that can divide. So, but here there is something that can divide again. We'll factor out 2 again. We put this in this bracket. Now say again, a, here a plus what? 2, now plus 8. If we open this bracket again, we are going to get back the same thing. So we have factored out, we have factorized this equation that is here. We have factorized this equation that is here. So if you understand this one now, you are close to understanding everything about what? Factorization method of quadratic equation. So what again do I want you to understand in factorization method? There is what they call discriminant. And the discriminant of a quadratic equation is b squared minus 4ac. Don't worry, after we are going to see how this came about. So this is a discriminant. And what is a discriminant? A discriminant, actually, I would say that it is a quantity that is unique to a formula. And that's quantity. It is unique to a formula, yes, and it tells you more about the roots or the answer, if the answer is achievable, if the root to the question is achievable. So now, with this discriminant now, we can say, or we can actually tell if a quadratic equation is factorizable or not. And if this discriminant equals a perfect, if it equals a perfect square, we know that that equation can be factorized. But if it does not equal perfect square, we know that that equation cannot be factorized. For example, we have this equation x squared plus 4x minus 2. What is our b? This is our a, b, and what c. Our b now is what? 4 squared minus 4a is 1, c is what? Minus 2. So this is what 16 minus, this is 4 times 2 is what? 8. 16 minus 8 is what? 8. And 8 is not a perfect square. So this equation cannot be factorized. We cannot factorize it. So, and many other what? Problems. What I hope you understand here, discriminant of a quadratic equation is this, and with this now you can tell if an equation can be factorized or whether it cannot be factorized. So if this discriminant equals a perfect square, you know that the equation can be factorized. But if the equation does not equal perfect square, you know that if this discriminant does not equal a perfect square, you know that that equation cannot be factorized. So factorizing a quadratic equation, maybe we have ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. To factorize an equation, this b, that is this second quantity that is here, will look for a number that when you multiply the number, for example, we have ax squared plus, when you multiply the numbers, you have when you multiply the two, make it 2. When you multiply the numbers, you have c, and when you add the numbers, you have what? B. Example of what I'm saying is, let's come here, let's look at this. We have x squared plus 5x plus 6 equal to 0. Now we look for what? Two values that is going to give us 5. Okay, we look for values that when we multiply together we have what? 6. We have 1 multiplied by 6 to be equal to 6. We have 2 multiplied by 3 to be equal to 6. We have -1, -1 multiplied by 6, -6 to be equal to 6. Or -2 multiplied by -3 to be equal to what? 6. Now, this is what? The factors that when you multiply together you have what? 6. The next thing we're going to check now is which of them is going to give us 5 when we add them together. If we add -3, -2, it's going to give us -5, and what we have here is +5. We have -1, negative, it's going to give us -7, but what we have here is +5. So we have +2 plus +3 is going to give us what? +5. So we are going to replace this with x. We're going to replace it now with what? X squared plus 2x plus 3x plus what? 6 to be equal to 0. And when you replace it this way now, everything is fine. You can now be able to factorize out anything you want to factorize. This is this. After you get your x is equal to 2 or your x is equal to 3. And that is all. That is some of the things, most of the things you have to know about factorization of quadratic equation. And I think I'm going to stop here for today. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about completing the square method. Thank you very much and do have a nice day.